I'd like to ask you to emotionally rewind from the crucifixion for a moment and return with me to Palm Sunday. And for a few minutes, try to enter into the kind of excitement and joy the Gospels describe there. Try to imagine the shouts of joy, the hosannas, the singing, the branches being waved high with the palms. And if you want to get a better sense of what it was like, go on YouTube when you get home and watch modern-day pilgrims retracing Jesus' steps to the sound of bongos and tambourines and singing. It's a palpable kind of joy. We do the best we can with a procession around the church and our own palms and bagpipes and hymns, but I don't think we really get close to that experience at all. When Kim and I were in the Holy Land last spring and walked that same route, it was cold and raining, so even then the mood was more of how much further till we get to the bus than joy. But the joy that day must have been incredible. Joy so intense and so over the top that in the Gospel of Luke, the Pharisees tell Jesus to make the crowd keep it down, to which Jesus says, if the crowd stops, then the rocks themselves will begin to sing. Because the day that the Messiah rides into Jerusalem means a new beginning. No more political oppression, no more poverty. The wine will flow and there will be plenty for all. Those are the images that they had received from the prophets. So of course they were excited. Of course they were joyful. The joy of Palm Sunday is intense. Can you feel it? Can you imagine it? So given the intense joy of Palm Sunday, how do we explain the anger and the despair of Good Friday? How do you go from ecstatic joy to contempt, even murder, in 5 days? How do you get from Hosanna to the Son of David to crucify him? It doesn't seem to make any sense. How do we wrap our minds around that? Researcher Brene Brown, in one of her recent books, writes that one of the most difficult emotions for us to fully participate in is joy. Sounds strange, doesn't it? It's difficult for us to fully participate in joy. But she explains that joy has a way of making us feel vulnerable. Because in a world of scarcity, where we fear not having enough, joy can feel like a setup. The moment we begin to experience it, we wonder how long it will last, and we begin trying to protect ourselves from the disappointment that we know is coming. So to get out in front of the disappointment, Brene Brown says that we forebode our joy. Meaning we try to protect ourselves by anticipating, even predicting what will go wrong. So for example, instead of simply enjoying a new relationship, we think to ourselves, this is just too good. I know that sooner or later they're going to ditch me. Instead of relishing a vacation with family, we just can't stop ourselves from imagining the house burning down while we're away, or the pets escaping from the kennel. In other words, we short-circuit joy to take the edge off of the disappointment that we know is coming. That's how powerful and painful disappointment is. part of the pain is the shame we feel for having hoped at all. We say to ourselves, I should have known better. I was so stupid to get my hopes up. And then comes the anger. Anger at whoever led us down this primrose path. We turn on the people or the things we hoped in. That's what was driving the mob on Good Friday. Disappointment, shame, anger. How dare you let me believe that you were my deliverer? How dare you get me to believe that God actually cares? How dare you give me hope and then take it away? Can you relate? Have you ever experienced disappointment that way? Have you ever felt that way about God, even for just a moment? That's the disappointment, the shame, the rage that nailed Jesus to the cross. Our disappointment is really no different than the mob that was there that day. It might as well have been us. It might as well have been our cries of Hosanna that became the cries, crucify him. Jesus bears your heartache on the cross. He was betrayed with a kiss. Peter denied him 3 times. All of the disciples fled and left him to die alone. Jesus bears our betrayed and broken hearts on the cross. Our political system is in shambles. We keep hoping that someone will lead us out of the wilderness our country is in. But instead, we just get more hucksters, more fear-mongering, more hatred, more division. Jesus bears our frustration with the system on the cross. Jesus was caught in the gears of the political machine. Pilate washed his hands of Jesus and sent an innocent man to the cross for the sake of political expediency. Our hopes for political salvation are there too, nailed to the cross. Even the hope that faith once gave you has been shaken. Clergy sex scandals, spiritual abuse, greed, and indifference to the real needs of the world have shaken our hope in the church. Jesus bears our disappointment with the church on the cross. After all, it was the religious leaders that paid Judas 30 pieces of silver to betray him and then rigged a trial to put Jesus to death. Even religious institutions are nailed to the cross. Even our disappointment with God and ourselves is nailed to the cross. Because in the end, He's the one that we blame, isn't He? Deep down, don't we blame God for our suffering, for our heartache? We blame God for leaving us in such a mess. And we blame ourselves for trusting Him. At least that's how we feel on our worst days if we're honest with ourselves. And so Jesus cries out from the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?" All of our broken hopes and disappointments are there on the cross on full display. And we need to see them because we're so good at avoiding the truth. The truth that sin has broken everything and us. The truth that there is no safe place for our hope. There is no remedy for disappointment apart from God's love. As long as we think there is, as long as we keep placing our hope in broken things apart from God, we're in grave danger. The cross displays all of the ways we try to rescue ourselves apart from God, and we need the disappointment of the cross to wake us up. But it's also on the cross that our disappointments lose their power. Because on the cross, we see that love is not defeated. From the cross, God pours out his great love upon us. From the cross, Jesus says, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." Jesus takes all of our disappointment, frustration, anger, and shame into his body, into his soul, and his response is mercy and love. He says, "Father, forgive." The disappointments lose their power when we realize that even at our worst, even when our hearts rage against God, he loves, he forgives. And though we sit in silence from Good Friday to Easter Sunday, we know that from the cross, new life will come. Our hope is in resurrection. There's no brokenness so profound, no disappointment so painful, no end, even death, that can stop God from raising us and the whole world to new life. And that hope sets us free. The Apostle Paul puts it this way in his letter to the Galatians: "I boast in the cross because I have been crucified to the world, and the world crucified to me." I've been crucified to the world. The way the world hopes no longer controls me. I see on the cross the things that can't really save me. I may enjoy them, I give thanks for them, but I don't place my hope in them. Instead, I place all of my hope on the one who loved me from the cross and has proved that the only thing that lasts, the only thing that can conquer even death itself, is God's love. The cross means that we are no longer controlled by the fear of disappointment. Because of the cross, disappointment only serves to remind us of God's love, of what cannot fail, of what we cannot lose, of what will never disappoint. Amen.